Hello, everybody. Today we are going to be talking about a SWOT analysis, which is a useful tool for businesses to help them evaluate their current position and their potential future direction. So the acronym SWOT stands for Strengths, Weaknesses, Opportunities, and Threats. And this analysis can be done at any stage during your business's development, and it can be used to help you address a number of business issues that may come about. So first, I want to give you some ideas of when this type of analysis can be helpful, and then we will jump into how to conduct a SWOT and what are the things that you should be looking for when you do that. So first of all, using it when you are planning a new business. When you are starting a new business, this type of analysis can help you identify the potential strengths, the weaknesses of your business idea, and as well as other opportunities and threats in the market that maybe you didn't look or you missed somehow when you were doing your business plan. Another good time to do a SWOT analysis for your business is when you are doing strategic planning. So this can help you develop a strategic plan for your business by evaluating the internal strengths and weaknesses, as well as the external opportunities and threats to your business. So it can help you know who to put where and so on. And I'm going to get into exactly what all of the acronyms mean in a minute. So let's keep going. Another reason that you would want to do a SWOT analysis is if you are coming up with a new product or service development. And this can help you determine if they are viable, how can they fit into the existing market, and obviously when you combine them with the strategic planning analysis that I just mentioned you should be doing, it can help you identify your internal strengths and external opportunities and threats to that new product or service that you are thinking about developing. And finally, another way to use a SWOT analysis is to do a competitor analysis. So a SWOT analysis of your business can help evaluate your position relative to the competitors in your market or in your industry, and again, identify your strengths and weaknesses and identify the potential opportunities and threats. So let's get started and dive into what SWOT means. So again, we'll start with the strengths. This part of the analysis is where you are going to be covering the capabilities that you have as a business. This means that you need to understand who makes up your team. You need to understand the strengths of each of those individuals as a team. You need to look at the feedback you have been getting if you're an existing business in terms of the feedback from your clients, your customers, what you do well. You want to know your competitive advantages overall. So what are the things that you do really, really well that your competitors are not doing that well? You want to know how many and how much of different resources, assets, and people you have access to. There's an old saying, and it still rings true, which is that your network is your net worth. And it is so important that you know who's in your network and identify the strengths that you have in terms of your connections. You want to know the experience, knowledge, and data of the people that you are employing and the people that you are connecting with, that you are networking with, that you are in business with. You want to know the financial reserves, the state of your returns on your investment. You want to know financial strengths when you are doing this part of the analysis as well. Additionally, you want to know how effective your marketing is, what the reach of that marketing is. You want to identify innovative aspects of your business, and this can be in any form. So it can be financially, through marketing, it can be through business development, or so on and so forth. You want to know where you are innovatively growing. Your location geographically can also be a strength, and you want to take a look at the market and the industry that you are in, but also the geographical location, and how can you use that to your business's strengths? Are there opportunities, which we'll get to in just a moment, but even geographically that you can be using and leveraging to your benefit? You want to know the price, value, and quality of the service or product that you are providing, and know why this is a strength. Why is your price a strength? Why is your value a strength? What is the quality of product or service that you are offering? And how can you use that as a strong position in your market? You want to know the processes, the systems, communications, IT, any kind of thing that you are using to make your business work. You want to identify the strengths of all of those things. So, this is a good idea to even review at least this part of the strengths every single year so that you understand that if you are using the appropriate software, if you are identifying ways to reach your target market in a way that is appropriate for your target market. You don't want to be sending, if you are trying to target 19-year-olds, you're not trying to send them postcards in the mail and so on and so forth, right? You want to know the systems that you are using and that they are appropriate and that they are actually working as a strength to your business. And overall, you want to know the advantages of your propositions. So, whatever it is that you are proposing to people to help them with, whether it's this product or service, you want to say, I know the advantages of who I am, of who my business is, of what we offer, and why we make a strong candidate for you to pick us over everybody else in the market. Moving on to weaknesses. So you also want to be able to identify essentially the opposite of all of the strengths, right? You want to see the lack of capabilities. What is it that you do not do that other people do in their business? Are there things where you could look to hire out for somebody to meet a need that is in your business, like a gap in competitive strengths? You want to know your reputation, presence, and reach. What are the weaknesses of this? Do people not even know who you are? That is a weakness of your business. It's not just that your reputation, it doesn't mean that you have a poor reputation. It just means that you don't have a reputation. How can you become more well known? You also want to know your timetables, like what deadlines, what pressures, what inability do you have to scale your business? All of these things add up to business growth. Again, you want to know the weak places of your financials as well. You want to know the cash flow, the cash drain, the continuity, the supply chain. You want to be able to identify weaknesses in these areas so that you can either fix those issues yourself if you have direct impact on those things, or if there's a better provider, a better supplier, a better outsourcing route for you to go for your business. You also want to know the effects on the core activities that you are doing. Are you getting sidetracked? Are you doing the things that are actually going to equate directly to cash flow? Right? You need to look at growing your business financially. Are you doing things that will add up to money in your bank, or are you getting sidetracked in doing certain things like posting on social media but having no strategy, for example? You also want to know the reliability of the data that you are looking at. Okay, regardless of what it is, if it's finances or any kind of other thing, you want to make sure that that data is accurate, that it is up to date, that there isn't any issues with the data, and you're not making decisions based on faulty information. You also want to look again at the management, cover, and succession. So in other words, you want to know not just who makes up your business, but are there any areas that are not being managed, or even are there any areas that don't have oversight right now that should have oversight? What would be the benefit of putting somebody in charge of or overseeing those activities or those spaces that do not have management in them right now? The next category is opportunities. This means things like market developments and changes. Has there been drastic changes to the market? Has there been an influx of people moving into your geographical area? Has there been a lot of people moving away from your geographical area? What has changed about your market? You want to know the industry or the lifestyle trends in your industry. So again, is this thing on the decline? Is your market on the rise? You want to know what is happening so that you can plan appropriately for the future. And again, you are staying on top of innovation. And speaking of opportunities, opportunities for you to improve in innovation or technology? Are the tools that you're using inside of your business outdated? Is there something else that you could put in there? Are you using AI? Are you learning how to use AI in your business development? You need to think about these things. Every single market, every single industry can start using that to help further them. You want to understand global influences. Are there opportunities for you to use certain events that are happening globally to either expand your business right now or to change and branch out completely into a different market altogether? You want to understand your target market and how it is growing, changing, and if there's another target market that you can expand into. Your target market should look like a bullseye. So there's, of course, the one in the very middle that you are trying to hit, right? But should be other target markets that you go after as your business grows. You want to think about these things. You also want to look at opportunities for any major contracts, and if there would be any surprises to changes in your current contract as well as other people's current contracts. So who are you in competition with? Are there opportunities for you to outbid them, underbid them, do more than them, offer more services than them? You want to know what are the opportunities that you are potentially looking at now and 6 months and a year from now. And this all goes down to opportunities ultimately in your business or product development. You want to know where you are starting, but you also want to know where you are going so that you can include the capabilities needed to reach those higher goals, the larger contracts, or whatever it is that you're after. You want to have that strategic plan put together. And finally, we're going to be reviewing threats. These include political and economical effects, just in general, on your company. So, for example, there was a political and economical effect of COVID-19 on a lot of businesses. You want to identify these threats and what you can do about them. There's also real legislative effects. If you know that there is going to be legislation that may impact or change your market, you want to be aware of that, because while it's a threat, it could potentially also be an opportunity. I'll give you a real life example, which is that right now, most US states do not have regulations when it comes to who can call themselves a life coach. There aren't a set of standards that you have to meet in order to use the term licensed life coach. And so if I knew that there will come a day where all states, there would be legislation passed on, hey, this is the criteria, like you would have for a doctor or a therapist to call yourself a coach, I would probably want to know that. I would probably want to make sure that I've done all of that training and make sure that if I have a business full of other life coaches, that they have also done all of that training. Because although it's a threat, it could be considered a threat to you and your profession. It can also be an opportunity, because guess what? If that legislation was passed, let's say overnight, that would leave a huge gap in $1 billion industry. So you want to take threats as also opportunities and look at what is coming down politically, legislatively, economically, and environmentally. Are there environmental effects that could happen to your business and impact them? And if so, how can you turn that threat into an opportunity? You also want to understand the competitive intentions, meaning if I know that somebody does something very similar to me, if I was them, what would I be wanting to do in terms of edging out my business, right? You want to be able to essentially red team your own business and find out where those weak places are so that you can turn those threats into opportunities. You also want to understand if there are any threats to the market demand. Again, another great example is that there were a lot of people who went into business making masks during 2020, 2021, and so on. But now there isn't a demand for that. There was a huge demand, but now there's no demand. And that's okay, as long as the demands that are influx, you understand, will not be sustainable. You build something else in to take that place of that product, of that service, when that demand is low. You also want to know if there are any threats to the innovation and technologies in services or ideas. So, like the potential right now for Chat GPT to be put on hold and to not innovate for another 6 months or so. How can you use, if that goes through, if they pause work on the AI technology, how can you use the 6 months? Of course, it could be seen as a threat, but how can I use this as an opportunity? All of your threats should find you an opportunity that you did not see before, and in a way to use whatever that threat is to your advantage ultimately. Another thing that you want to look at in terms of threats is any new contracts and partners. Are there any new contracts and partners that you've not worked with before, that you don't know their work ethic? You aren't sure about how this relationship is going to go? Are there losses to resources because of these new contracts and or new partners? Is there new management if you're in a big corporation? All of these things you want to take into consideration. And again, they're ultimately just opportunities, but you do want to be aware of them. Just because you don't want to identify something, you want to pretend it doesn't exist, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And that's a terrible way to run your business. Another thing you want to look at is if there are any other obstacles that you will potentially face. So if you are up for an end of if you are up for a review, for example, if your business does contracting work, if you are up for a review at the end of the year, you want to understand that there is a potential, no matter how long you've done that thing, no matter how great of a relationship you have with the client, there's still an opportunity for that contract to be severed. So you do want to look at that review as a threat. And again, just use it to increase the opportunity that you have during that review. Also, if there's any poor management strategies, which you should have identified in the weaknesses, but let's say you are doing some sort of like business to business deal and the other business doesn't have good management strategies, that should be seen as a threat to how well you can do your end of whatever contract or whatever agreement you have with them. And again, it's an opportunity. So how can you use that threat to actually showcase some of your strengths? And then finally, you want to know about the economic conditions. And that is everything from inside your business to outside your business in terms of the community, the state that you're working in, the country or the countries that you are working in. You want to know the economic condition of these places, because if it is potentially too expensive for you to do business, let's say in your state right now, because let's say taxes are too high, or there's something happening where you're not going to be able to afford to not only maintain, but definitely not grow your business in those economic conditions, you want to take that as a threat, but also start looking for another opportunity of where you can grow and expand. So I hope this video helps you understand what a SWOT analysis is, when you should use it, why you should use it, and ultimately how to use it in your business so that you can continue to expand and grow. One of the things that you need to be most aware of in your business, regardless of what you do, is your buyer's journey. And if you aren't understanding what your buyer is thinking, what your buyer is feeling, and what your buyer is ultimately wanting during this buyer's journey, then I want you to check out this video next, in which I explain all of these steps.